You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Global Trade This Week. I am Pete Mento, founder and sole employee of Mento LLC. I am also a partner with Undeniable Technologies. And with me is the butter to my popcorn, the ice to my Diet Coke, Mr. Doug Draper. Doug, first of all, I want to say a belated Happy Father's Day to you, my friend.
Thank you. You as well. I appreciate that. One of the best Sundays of the year, I should say, except for the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah. I know we were talking about Father's Day. I had a wonderful Father's Day. I got to spend it with my delightful, if not quirky, daughter. Little pool time, little me time. Father's Day to me should not require me to do anything. And this year, Charlotte and Jen made sure that was the case. I got to go to Brazilian barbecue where they kept the roast meat coming. I didn't have to do any dishes or anything. It's very relaxing. You, on the other hand, always having to kick it up a notch, always having to outdo me. Why don't you tell the good people what your Sunday was like, my friend?
Yes, well, it's always about the dichotomy, right? So yesterday I biked about 80 miles from Denver to Colorado Springs. And while you're eating 25 pounds of meat, I was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in a parking lot under a tree with Gatorade and Goo bars, feeling my quads burn and my hammies feel like they're about to pop. So there you go. I did have dinner with my kids and my family, so we got that. But one heck of a day.
How do you feel today after that?
I actually feel pretty good. Yesterday was a little tweaky in the evening, but today is all good. So I didn't do the thing justice, Pete, and you saw the website, right? So these guys are college kids from Western Kentucky University. They bike across country. They put their rear tire in the Pacific Ocean. They finish with their front tire in the Atlantic Ocean, and all along they make stops and organize events to raise money for Alzheimer's. So these guys, there's 14 of them. I was the 15th for the day. They raise about $100,000 as they zip through town. And not only do they plan their route, but they plan these events where they show up and try to raise money. So it's not just a one-day deal. I happen to be the day tripper. But these guys today, they are riding through eastern Colorado on their way through Kansas. So they're nonstop, 70 days, 7-0. They're doing this. So I was just a participant for one. And I was more than twice their age, and I think I held my own. So there you go.
Were there a lot of old man comments? Did they hand you any Geritol? Did you reek of Ben Gay during the whole thing?
No, I think that they just I'm their dad's age, right? So I think that there is a level of respect, right? And I had these young kids how you doing? You doing okay? Like checking on the old man before he tips over on his bike.
Yeah.
But no, good
but
guys.
You did us
so
proud,
there's
didn't
interest.
You?
What's that?
You did us proud. You're like, you try to keep up with me, and you're just like hammering. I can only imagine.
Yeah,
you're at least
I couldn't have gone one, maybe 2 more miles than I would have fallen over. But if anybody cares or has interest or has a connection with Alzheimer's, Bike 4, the number 4, alz.org. Pete, you did a donation. I appreciate that. And they are not quite halfway through their journey, but it was an honor. I'm one of 3 people they asked to ride with them. So anyway, I'm super stoked about it, and I'm glad, and that's it. I won't talk about it anymore. I appreciate the platform.
Oh man, that's a meaningful cause, and you're a great man for doing it. And if if they're looking for a plus size, unathletic, balding economist to do it with them, I'll be happy to go a half a block on my bicycle. Yeah. Maybe even 20 yards for the cause, if you'd like.
Well, there's a pilot car driver. That you could jump in and do. You just go from spot to spot, set up a little camp, probably listen to some old rock and roll. So that may be the spot for you.
Man. I'm down. All right. Well, we have quite a show for everyone this week. I think going with our 2021 theme of controversy, not kindness, this will probably be another show that will definitely kick off some controversy. So You got a good one first, Doug. Go ahead and get us kicked off, buddy.
All right, man. I like this one. You and I kind of talk about we get kind of pumped up and have a negative spin on stuff. But my two topics today are positive, and I love them. And it's awesome. The first one is FedEx. They may be my favorite company to go with right now. And I call this one the gangster move. They rolled out last week and essentially fired 1,400 customers. How amazing is that? And who has the cojones to do that kind of thing? That is awesome. I love it. It validates that they're a company that knows what they want, they know what they're good at, and they want to take care of their customers and their shareholders by not bottlenecking their system with so much freight. And a lot of it had to do with, you and I have spoken about this before, the connectors, right? Transitioning from terminal to terminal and just how much stuff was getting jammed. And the other thing I just laugh at is that they gave them like no notice. It's like somebody on a Friday is like, we're done. And they send them a letter or a call or smoke signals. And they're like, peace out. We're done working with you 1,400 customers. So I think the timing, so a couple takes on that, Pete. The timing, I think, is important to know because Prime Days is today and tomorrow, right? So get some of that craziness out of the system. I think that's part of it. And I think it's just the fact that it's an outright firing. Usually people are like, oh, we'll give a rate increase and let them choose not to work from us. FedEx, in a big baller move, was like, you're done, and just fired them. And I think I love it. I love it. It's a gangster move. These guys, they need to be running our country because I'm so impressed. I feel bad for the 1,400, but I have just total respect for what they did. And you know what this is going to do? It's going to open up opportunities. You got to think of it as a positive, right? I think this is going to be more regional kind of carriers. The volume's not going away. So just like water, it's going to find its way to where it needs to go. And I think this is going to open up for some pretty good creativity. And there'll be LTL carriers that say, I'll take anything and everything. And that's fine. That's their business model, and they'll go from there. But I think that FedEx is the new honey badger out there. They just don't give a bleep, and they're going to do what's right for their company. And I got mad respect for that.
Man, you think the Postal Service will come fill in that void, buddy? Think that'll be
I don't know.
This
I don't know, man.
This just comes back to my visceral fear that someday all of us will be working for Amazon and buying everything from Amazon, right? It's like FedEx just decides one day, man, we better fire a whole bunch of people so we can take care of our most important customer. But who hasn't been in that position in this business where you say to yourself, we got to make space for our biggest clients, because if we don't, we're going to jeopardize our biggest clients. I mean, there was a lot of, if you go on LinkedIn or you go on Twitter, there's a lot of people complaining about this. Who do they think they are getting rid of these small customers? It's like, you've been paying attention to what goes on in this business. Money talks. That's just how it works. And the people that are going to pay their bills on time and at the rates that are going to make these folks money are the ones that get all the attention. This is not a church. This is a money-making enterprise. And in case no one's been noticing, been the past year and a half been awful tough. Everything is getting more expensive, and they've got to deal with I don't know what you want to call it, the $200 billion gorilla that is Amazon in the wings. So I agree with you. When I heard it, as a guy that's worked for a lot of forwarders, I was like, get on with your bad self. I imagine there was somebody that got to make that decision who did a bit of, did the superior dance in their office and got to get funky with it. I'm jealous. I've only gotten to fire a few clients in my life, and I will admit it was delicious when I got to do it. But it was mostly because they were absolute cranks and I couldn't deal with them anymore. But man, could you imagine? I wonder what that was worth. And had the shareholders risen up in anger? And I haven't looked at the stock price.
I haven't either. Maybe, it could, I was about to say maybe it's too early, but I'm sure there was a spike, but we'll see how it is long term. But I love it. Kudos to FedEx. Things come in three, Pete. So they fired Amazon. They fired 1,400 customers. There's a third thing coming down the pike that they are ready to drop the hammer on. But anyway, that's for another day and another topic.
Doug, Pete, do you have a resume out to FedEx or something, and you don't want to tell us about it? Like, is this...
No, I just love it. In this day and age, just they're doing what needs to be done for the benefit of their company, and nobody has the cojones to do that at times. So I'm all in for it. I'm not even like a huge FedEx fan. I just have total respect for what they're doing. So kudos to you, Pete. I'm going to gush too much. So what's your topic number one?
Topic number one is just how it never ends. Okay, it never ends. So I reported on this a few weeks ago. Apparently it's getting a little better, but in Yantian in China, they had a huge COVID outbreak at the port. So one of the things that we've done in ocean cargo to deal with the rancid rabid goat rodeo that is the current supply chain situation of 2021 is we're using other ports a little more than we would have normally. And Yantian has absolutely benefited from this. So of course, the supply chain gods have to decide to vomit all over that by having a massive COVID outbreak amongst the people that work there. Happy summer. And that COVID outbreak has caused a deluge of problems, most notably that the port itself had to slow down. They were unable to get people to work there. Now, apparently, this has gotten a little bit better. Things are rolling back up again, but it's caused a backlog. It's like everything else we talk about here. Things are when it comes to our business, they're very tight, right? There's a lot of friction, not a lot of space. So when you add a lot of space, it's like a car crash on a highway. Things just collide all the way down, and we have a huge problem that shows up on the back end. Well, that's what's happening there. So there's going to be a mix-up and a blast back, and what you end up having is back pressure that's going to come from it, and it couldn't happen at a worse time. So thanks, Yantian, for giving us yet something else to complain about today. Love you, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. So my take on that is if anybody out there, I'm not pretend to be a professional. Anybody out there that says, the problem will be solved in a couple months, they just don't understand the big picture or don't get it, right? They're not supply chain people. All of this chaos is not going away anytime soon. And I'm not talking like next month. I'm talking like middle of 2022 type of stuff. I mean, it's going to be nuts. And this is just another point of how one gigantic port can just implode the entire supply chain across the country. It's crazy. It's baffling. So just another validation that it's going to be nuts. And I guess we should really embrace Christmas in July, because if you don't buy your stuff probably in the next couple of months, you're not getting it before the holidays.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly, man. It's going to be ugly. And I agree with you. It's going to take a long time, Doug. It's going to take a long time. Your Roaring 20s stuff, I hate your stupid taglines, but man, did you hit that one. Did you absolutely positively hit that right? This buying frenzy. Everyone felt so bad for so long. Now they're working again, and let's make our feelings better by dumping unnecessary imported products at them. And it's going to keep going. It's going to keep going. Well, that brings us to halftime, Doug, of the Cap Logistics Global Trade This Week show. Thank you again to our friends at Cap Logistics and to Keenan back in Colorado, making it happen every week. I always imagined that at this point, he takes his helmet off and begins to brush his long, luxurious hair and put in some products so he can make it through the second half of the show. Maybe gulps down some kombucha, has some granola, and readjusts his Birkenstocks to make sure that everything goes well for the second half. But you can't be sure.
Yeah. Well, we were talking before the show. We're going to get Keenan on. He's an incredibly smart individual, way smarter than I am. So we're going to get him on. There'll be a third screen popping up, and we're not sure when that is, but it's definitely going to be in the next couple of weeks. So
we're going to make sure he has an opportunity to contribute.
Yeah, and he's a big fan of crypto. I know you are as well, Pete. So that'll be a fun if he decides to bring that up.
Maybe he'll talk about crypto and drones so that both of us can sit here miserable. What do you think about that?
Yes. Yes, we'll bite our tongue and we'll talk about, that would be, I'll tell you what, that'd be the mic drop moment, because he'd zing us for sure. But
well, I do have
we
something.
didn't talk about this, but
I do
go
have
for it.
I need to plug. On January the 2nd, I am on a panel. July. Thank you. On July the 2nd, I am moderating a panel for The Economist magazine. It's the first time that I'm speaking on behalf of The Economist, hopefully not the last, on cybersecurity in maritime and how the big problem of managing cybersecurity and the new type of piracy is going to be addressed by both ocean vessels, freight forwarders, ports, and the various infrastructures, as well as governments. I have an incredible panel, including the head of the CIO for Chevron Shipping, lobbying groups from Washington, D.C., and my good friend, Captain Alex Ohanoff with True North Group. It's going to be an amazing opportunity to talk about this big problem, and there will be a question and answer session immediately following it. It is a free opportunity from The Economist, which does not happen too often, and I hope all of you can join us. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I really do hope all of you can join us. What about you, Doug?
Yeah. No, I've already registered for that event, Pete, and it's amazing. You look at the talent and the knowledge base that's involved, and there is no charge. Yeah. So,
yeah,
I had to be official.
I feel like the least attractive member of the Miss Universe pageant up on that stage. I don't know why they asked me to be up there, and this isn't false modesty. There are some serious heavy hitters, and then there's just like me. There's just me. I don't know why they asked me.
Yeah. Well, it's you'll be great. And the funny thing about the registration, it basically, I got a ping back that says your registration is pending approval.
Ooh.
Which makes me feel really good, but I'm sure that's just some statistical thing that pops out that everybody, it's pending approval. I guess if I get approved, then I'm super important. So I love that. I started laughing when I saw that. But my take, Pete, is the Olympics. I don't know if you've caught any of the events that were on TV the last couple of nights, track and field last night. Wow. I am ready. Let's go, Team USA. I'm so stoked they're having it. Really excited about the end of July. So we may bring that up in the upcoming shows. But I'm all in, man. Olympics. Let's do it.
I'm fired up. Yep. You may not know this, but I hold dual citizenships in America and Italy. I will be rooting for both countries. I always love the Olympics. I think that it is a opportunity for us to see the human body do things that are unthinkable. I'm going to miss Michael Phelps in the water. I think it's amazing. I love gymnastics, the idea that the human body can propel itself up in the air like that. But I also love watching Team USA just absolutely just throat punch other countries. There's something about seeing Team USA basketball just pick people up and slam them to the ground over and over again. I do like that.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, I learned something about you every single day, Pete. I had no clue that you had dual citizenship in Italy.
I do.
And half of me says that that's not true, but I guess if you're going to tell me, I'll have to believe it.
Yeah, it's a ridiculously easy thing to accomplish if you're Italian. My grandfather was born. My great grandparents were still Italian citizens, which means that he was Italian, and as such, it allows me to also claim Italian citizenship. I have a passport and everything. So, for those of you who are wondering, there are two countries where it's very easy: Ireland and Italy. It means that I am a citizen of the European Union, but I am not taxed. I am taxed here. I was talking to a good friend of mine not too long ago, and I said, so how do you feel about paying taxes? Do you pay your fair share? Are you in that George Soros thing of, not paying your taxes? Pete, somewhere in the Middle East, there is a drone from Lockheed Martin flying around that has my face on it. Trust me, I paid my fair share of taxes. I kind of like that metaphor in my mind.
Nice.
In any case, Doug, why don't you bring us your second topic, which I like even more than the first topic, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Go ahead and hit.
Yes. Well, I always say that you and I there's two sides of the house. There's the service provider, right, which is we've spent our world providing services, and then there's the user of services, which is essentially our customers. So my first topic was the gangster move by the service provider. My second topic is the big baller move by Home Depot. Without going into a whole lot of detail, they basically reserved a ship for their own use. Not a lot of details on there, so somewhat speculative on what's going on. But as excited I was, I don't shop at Lowe's anymore. I'm 100% in on Home Depot because, again, they just were done. They simply said, our customers are important, our shareholders are important, and we're not going to be left in the lurch. We're going to control our destiny, and we're going to go in that direction. And I love it. So a couple things in doing a little research on this one is that initially I was like, wow, they're going to take this mega ship and have, 15,000 TEUs and everything else. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Highly doubt it. But there's plenty of smaller vessels out there, 4,000 to 6,000 TEUs that are going to go. So my point, and I'm not going to get in the weeds on what type of vessel, but it's not going to be this mega ship. This is my opinion. It's not a mega ship. It's something a little bit smaller. Then you get into the scheduled versus unscheduled routes. I think that it's obviously going to be unscheduled because they're just chartering a boat and getting the hell out of Dodge. So that could create, a few more problems because you're just randomly inserting more equipment, another vessel that has to dock to get unloaded. So that may create some more problems at a port. But, I love the move. Here's the one thing, Pete, that I think is going to be really interesting, and I want to get down here to check it out, is that I don't think it's going to be a trend. You may see it once or twice again, and I'm sure somebody's going to raise their hand and say, oh, we've been doing that for a while, and we charter aircraft and stuff, but this is a little bit different. But I think what's going to happen is that this may open up the idea of a marketplace that you and I have spoken about, where it's almost like a price line model, that if Home Depot has excess capacity on their vessels, take it to market, bid it out, and have you and I sitting here on our iPhones and saying we need 5 cubic meters of LCL to go from X to Y. And I think that this is going to open up some new, a little bit of disruption, if you will, in the supply chain. I don't know. It could just blow up and this thing is a one-off, one-and-done type of deal. But I love the idea. I love Home Depot's same concept of taking care of their customers and their shareholders. And this one is a big baller move where FedEx was a gangster move. But anyway, that's my take. What do you think about it?
I agree with you. This took some, again, cojones to do. They weren't the first company to put their money where their mouth is and say enough and go and do it. The numbers on this are incredible. The amount of money you have to spend to lease a vessel. And this isn't something you just do for one trip. You've got to be in. So they kind of had to look at, Doug's position in the last topic, which was, how long is this head squeezing pressure of the market going to last? Okay, it's probably going to last for 12 months. So if it's going to last for 12 months, then it's worth for us to get into a lease on a vessel, because this isn't one trip. And then they said to themselves, then what's that going to cost versus where the prices are going to go? Okay, do we think we can credibly be able to fill this vessel up? Okay, what are the costs? What's the insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? They subtracted A from B, and that number was more money than it's probably, the savings was more than what they were going to spend. So the fact that they have enough cargo to do that puts them in rarefied air that they can do it. Second of all, it's like anything else. The first time you make a martini, it's not going to taste that good, buddy. It's martinis 750, the last one you have, that you're pretty happy you made them that way. So I think that you're going to see more and more companies considering this while prices are so bananas, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, nutty like they are now. It's that second half of what you talked about that really gets my attention. It's this idea that there could be a market disruptive opportunity for a technology piece where people say, I have, the price line, the orbits of extra capacity, and I'm willing to sell it to someone. And if you want it, here's the space. Go find your own way of papering it up through an NVO. And is it an NVO comes up with that? Is it third-party technology? There's a lot of regulatory issues that make that real interesting. The time has come. The time has come. And that leads me to my topic here in a minute. What I worry about is what the ocean carriers could do to wreck that opportunity to make this better. Because what you're talking about would be revolutionary. And what you're talking about would put the power back in the hands of the consumer. It would put the power back in the hands of the integrated carriers. And by integrated, I mean freight forwarders. And it would take the power out of what has become essentially, an antitrust cartel. And I don't think that they're in the business of doing that. So they would screw up this utopian hope that you and I have.
Well, like you said, the first martini's not necessarily the best one, but maybe this is the first crack at at the cartel. But this is real interesting, and I think there's implications well beyond, hey, cool, I can buy my drill at Home Depot in the fall. So
I agree with you.
Keeping an eye on what happens on this one.
And one more thing, Doug, Dole and Chiquita, those banana companies, they've been moving their own fruits forever on their own own chips. There's no reason why these companies can't do it if the money makes sense. And I agree with you 100%, Doug. Someone's got to try. Somebody has to try to do this to say we've had enough, or it's going to be this way forever. That leads me to my last topic. Okay, so
do it. Bring it on.
I started reading all of these. It was almost like love letters to the carriers this week that were written by, they were penned by leadership from major freight forwarders. And I'm not talking about little companies, major freight forwarders, industry thought leaders, large industry press outlets that are suddenly coming out and saying, I don't know why we're so angry at the carriers about our current situation. It's really not their fault. And it was one of those moments where I thought to myself, have I started drinking again and I didn't realize it? Were the mushrooms on my salad this afternoon psilocybin? Is there something, has the world turned upside down and I didn't know it? Did I not get a memo? And I started reading these things, and they were going through how we should not be blaming ocean carriers for the current situation. And they made some valid points. As we made on the show, mostly you have made, Doug, that there is much of the problem is a desire to consume post-pandemic, a desire to restock in what was one of the lowest cycles of consumption in modern history. The fact that our infrastructure is an absolute mess, and it has been for years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. While at the same time, just dismissing the fact that they've been colluding for centuries on how much we should be spending, how much space that we should have on ships, and then this never-ending cycle about how they invest in their industry. The space on a ship increases in value, right? So the market for their rates goes up. They get a whole bunch of money. So they start putting that money into building more ships. It takes about 2 years to build a ship. They all do it at the same time. So those ships all get dumped into the market at basically the same time. The spot market, begins to weaken, and the ships all at the same time decline in value. A bunch of charterers default, so those vessels are suddenly like, they're basically on the block for next to nothing because people have gone into default, so they filed for Chapter 11. There's all this debt restructuring about stuff. Private equity and capital, the capital markets goes in, and then all of these big companies buy up these little ones, and consolidation happens, which we just saw. Then investors order brand new ships because they're flush with cash from private equity. And then these uneconomical ships get scrapped. So what happens? There's constriction in the marketplace, which means the cost of shipping goes. It's like this never-ending stop the madness cycle that happens over and over and over again. It's like watching your buddy who goes out every Friday night, walks into the bar and goes, yeah, shots of tequila, let's do this. And then on Saturday morning, he wakes up and he looks at you and he wipes the barf off of his face. And he's like walking around your apartment. He's like, where did my pants go? You're like, oh, your pants? Your pants are in a garbage can because you crapped yourself last night at 3 o'clock after you ate a frozen burrito at 7-Eleven. You idiot. Just like you did last Friday night. Oh, by the way, you punched a cop and I bailed you out. You've got a court date on Thursday. Your third one this year. It's like the same mistakes over and over and over. So no, I'm not going to sit here and allow you guys to wax poetically about your darling ocean carriers as if they did not have a huge part to do with this. Because we all know that during the height of the pandemic, They saw the lull in activity as an opportunity to completely reset their market. And that when the market tanks again, they'll do it again. Because Doug, walk in to any retail store right now, and I'll give you the perfect metaphor for it. You can buy super, super nice masks anywhere. You can buy all the PPE you want, brother. You can buy all the hand sanitizers and nice face masks you want, because that market is now flooded with opportunity. So people are buying it, waiting for flu season when people get scared again. But sooner or later, that stuff's going to get scrapped. It's going to get recycled and used for something else. Stop the madness. If you guys can get together and collude on prices, you should be able to get together and collude on who's going to make more ships and when. This is absolute madness. And until you figure it out, you're just going to keep doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, over and over and over again is what they've done forever, and they've crushed it with profit. They create their own supply and demand.
Oh, have they?
Pete, I'll disagree with you on this one. I would be like, why not continue to do it? Why not continue to create that supply and demand just through their actions of investment, and then trashing the old stuff and anyway, I think it's just, I don't think it's going away. I would disagree with you.
Because the ocean carrier graveyard is riddled with names of containers that you will never hear of ever again, Doug. The last 10 years are nothing but stories of consolidation, of one company getting gobbled up by another because of financial distress. And if you think that's over with, no. And when we're all wondering why prices keep going up, it's because more and more of these little companies are going to get gobbled up, because this is going to continue to happen, and you're going to have less choice. And less choice with the same or more demand is going to mean higher prices. You're doing it to yourself. Mm-hmm. You're stepping into their hands. This is just, and more profitable? I don't think so. Because from a regulatory perspective, these ships are under more regulations than ever. Nope. This type of behavior is only going to lead to one place: doom and peril, my friend. Doom and peril.
You remind me like 3/4 of the way through a investigative drama movie where you're the reporter that has an epiphany and clearly defines the plot of the movie and the protagonist and the antagonist and everything else. So it's funny. I don't think it's going to change. It's going to happen. And the fact that I may be part of the problem because I want to consume and have the new slim version of a size 15 shirt because it's hot pink and that's what the style is. The consumer drives it ultimately, and you're not going to change the consumer's buying habits. It's interesting. You go from there. And then the other question I have is, what's the name of your friends and who are you hanging out with that are still in that kind of situation on a Saturday morning?
Oh, no, that's back when I was in my 20s. My friends now, if they're cleaning up any puke, it's probably their grandkids. Yeah, that's not how we roll anymore, man.
Got it. So, well, I think that's we had a lot of good dialogue today, Pete. And I think just thinking of this, I think we need to dedicate the next couple of global trades this week to get some Olympic trivia going on. So that'll be my takeaway. But until that happens, that recaps and closes out another episode of Global Trade this week. Obviously, Cap Logistics and Keenan push the buttons and turn the levers to make all this happen, so we can't thank Cap Logistics enough. CapLogistics.com for transportation and logistics solutions. Pete, that's it. That's a wrap, my friend. Had a lot of fun today.
So did I, buddy. I'll see you again soon. Take it easy.